as well as teaching you and giving you a valuable content. So it is not a one-way process, it's a two-way process in which I'll be telling you something, you will be asking something, and then I'll be reverting back to you and then we'll grow all together. Okay, so before starting the class, let me first tell you some of the points that you should take into account or that you should consider before you start preparing. Okay, so this is an introductory class, this is our first class, that's why I'm going to tell you all those things, and then we'll quickly start our chapter. Okay, so these are the points. First point is that time is not a barrier. Time is not a barrier. Why? Because here mainly we are studying for two exams. We are preparing for two exams, IAT and NEST. And we know that IAT, it asks 15 questions and it has 4 sections. So you have in total you have 60 questions to attempt. Yes, you have total 60 questions to attempt in IAT exam. Also in NEST, so this is for IAT, and for NEST you have 4 subjects and each one of them asks 20 questions. So there are in total 80 questions that are there in NEST exam, but you have to attempt only 3 out of them because they take best 3 out of 4 subjects that you have attempted. So in total in this exam also you have to do only 60 questions. And you have got a time of 3 hours, means 180 minutes. And I think 180 minutes is far more sufficient to attempt 60 MCQs. Okay, it's not a subjective paper, it's an objective paper, and 60 questions are very easy to attempt in 3 hours. Yes or no? Do you agree with me or not? Just write in the chat box, do you agree with me or not? 60 questions, 180 minutes. Isn't it a lot of time to attempt these all questions? Tell me. Yes? Yes? Yes, of course. So time is not a barrier in this exam. The only barrier in this exam is your conceptual understanding. What is it? It is your conceptual understanding. Okay. Why? Why? Because let's say you have been given 180 minutes of time. Okay.
YouTube comments देखने थे यहाँ से.
Okay. So let's say you have been given 180 minutes of time, but you are not thorough with your syllabus. You haven't deep dived into your subject. Then what's the whole point of giving you 3 hours or even 5 hours or 24 hours? And if you don't know, then it means you don't know, and you will not be able to do those questions. Okay. So the first point is valid if and only if you are thorough with your syllabus, you have a deep conceptual understanding of all the topics that have been taught to you during this course of time, as well as, and if you are not taking this batch also, like the YouTube students, then also you should be thorough with all the syllabus that is being mentioned in the brochure of IAT and NEST exam site. Okay, so this is the first point that you should consider or take into account before start preparing for these 2 exams. Okay, now PCB and PCM students, I was able to see some of the students asking me that I am a non-bio student and some were asking that I am a bio student. So should I attempt maths if I am a PCB student, or should I attempt bio if I am a PCM student? So let me give you a reality check. So this year, let me give you a reality check this year. So the total marks that a student can get in IAT exam is 240. Okay, 240. Okay. Now, these 240 marks, how can a student get? So there are 4 sub segregations of the exam, है ना? So you have P, C, M and B, physics, chemistry, math and biology, and from each of the subject 15 questions will be asked. Okay, and each question will contain certain amount of marks that will sum up to 240. Okay, okay, so 15 for the 60, I guess. Yes, so 4 marks, each question is of 4 marks. Okay, and it will sum up to 240. Okay, and the cutoff, which is the minimum number of marks that you should get to get any IISER through this exam for this year, is approximately 135 to 140. This is the minimum number of marks that you should score, or it's a safe score, okay, to get any IISER. And I guess this is not even a safe score. You should target 145 to 150 in order to get any college of through IISER aptitude test, the least number of marks that you should get. Below these marks you will not get any IISER or any branch in that case in IISER, be it BTech or some other BSc economics, any one seat in IISER. Okay, and 150 marks is a lot of marks. So tell me in the chat box, can you afford leaving any one of these subjects? Can you afford to leave any one of the subject? Let's say you leave biology, okay, then straight away 60 marks are gone because you are not attempting these 60 marks, है ना? So 240 minus 60, 180. Now the maximum number of marks that you will be competing for is 180, and I don't think that those students who are PCM or PCB and leaving one subject, they will get full out of full in PCB or PCM. Okay, so if you are leaving one subject, then right from the beginning you will be okay. So if you are leaving any one of the part of this exam, any one of the subject of this exam, then you will end up losing 60 marks straight away. So this is not a choice. This is not a choice. Okay? Leaving anyone out of biology or physics or chemistry or mathematics is not an option. You have to attempt all 4 subjects this year. At least those students who are with us, okay, who are enrolled in the Kalam batch, like I am able to see the students, they should go for all the subjects, because here we will be covering all the 4 subjects separately. So even if you are PCB students, you will be taught maths. Even if you are a math student, PCM student, then you will be taught biology also, and you have to focus on all these subjects and attempt those in IAT exam and get good marks in them. Okay, then only you will be able to get a good college. So your aim for this year should not be to get any college, any IISER. Your goal should be to get the topmost of what is there among the whole hierarchy. Okay, you should be targeting IISc Bangalore, you should be targeting IISER Pune. Okay, so these are the colleges that I want my student to go in. Okay, is next exam, is there Q&S with more than one answer key? No. So I'll give you that thing also. I'll tell you the exam pattern of next also, but be with us. Okay, now the third point here is never miss a class. This is my own experience from my life also when I was studying, that if you end up missing one class, then ultimately your motivation to attend the next class, it automatically goes down. Okay, so if you have missed one class in due to any reason, please, even if you want or if you don't want, ठीक है, attend the next class. Why? Because I have seen this thing that if you are not attending one class due to any kind of thing, due to backlog or any kind of thing, then you end up leaving the next class also, and then you end up missing the other next class also, and it becomes a chain. ठीक है? And at the end, the whole lot of backlogs, it keeps on piling on, and then the demotivation, it becomes so much that you end up leaving the whole thing, the whole subject, the whole chapter, the whole unit. Okay, so please be punctual in this thing, that you should attend all the classes. Okay, if due to some reason, due to some if you are ill or you have some disease kind of things, or due to any kind of situation, okay, if you end up leaving one class, then please see the recording on that day only and attend the next class next day. Okay, so this is not acceptable that you miss a class. Okay, and I'll see how many students who are today in this batch, in this class, will be with me till the end of the course. Okay, I'll be monitoring that thing. Next, daily revision plus question solving. This is the key to crack any exam. Not only IAT or NEST. It is the key to clear and get good colleges for any exam. Okay? So it is very simple. You have to just attend all the classes, attend live class. Okay? After attending the live class, you have to just revise what have been taught, and after revision, you just solve the questions or MCQ, solving more and more questions. Okay? And this is not something that you should do for 1 day or 2 days or any other thing. This should be a continuous exercise throughout your course. This should be your daily task. Okay, this should be your daily task. Okay, so you have to see the lecture, you have to revise what have been taught, and you have to solve at least 20 to 30 questions from the topic that has been taught. Okay, clear this thing? Just write in the chat box. Let me see how many of you are clear with all these 4 points. Sir, approximately when will the total syllabus will get over? Okay, so let me give you an idea that we will probably end the syllabus till mid of February. Okay, we will end this syllabus, we will complete the syllabus till mid of February. Okay, some days up and down can happen, but yes, more or less we will end up the syllabus in February only. Okay, clear to all of you? Yes. Now, some of the students were asking about next exam. Let me give them an idea of the exam pattern of next exam. So in next exam, there are 4 sections: physics, chemistry, maths and biology. Okay? There are 4 parts in this whole next exam. Out of these 4, you have to attempt any 3 of these subjects. Okay? So they will take best of 3. If you are attempting all the 4 subjects, then they will take only 3 best subject in which you have performed best. Okay, like you have attempted all the 4 sections, but your most of the marks that you have got are in chemistry, maths and biology. Then they will take
the noise
a cumulative score of these three subjects. Okay, clear? Okay, and each section will have 20 questions in them. Each section will have 20 questions in them. Okay? Clear? Each part will have 20 questions in them, and all the questions will be single correct type. Earlier, NEST used to ask 5 questions that were multiple select type options. Okay, but now they have changed the pattern. They are asking 20 questions from each part, and all of them are single correct answer. Okay? Clear? This thing is clear to all of you? Clear? Now, one more thing that some students might have this question in their mind, that is this preparation only sufficient to clear exams like IAT and NEST, or we can clear other exams also by this preparation. So of course, if you are thorough with what we have taught in the course of this whole year, then you can crack any of the exam that you want. You can crack apna IAT, NEST, IACS, UPST, CUET, NEET, JEE. Okay. Just you need some extra effort in them, and that will be solving those exam specific PYQs. Okay, you have to attempt those exam specific PYQs separately. Other than that, all the syllabus, all the concepts will be same. You will be well versed to clear any exam up to 12th standard after we end up covering our whole syllabus. The only prerequisite for that is this thing, that you should have attended all the live classes, you must have revised all the topics, and you must have solved plenty of questions from each subtopic that we have taught. Okay, clear? Now with this, let's start our first chapter, that we are going to from what we are going to commence our journey. Okay, sir, which reference book do you recommend for biology? First of all, okay, so this is also one point. For book part, you have to stick to any one book. Okay, like if there are students who are from Kalam batch and they have got SciAstra books, then please stick to those books only. If you want to read those books, please read those books only. Solve the questions multiple times, okay, from that same book only, because there are plenty of things that have been given, or plenty of different types of questions that have been given in this book, and you have to do it multiple times. Okay, I am not saying that if you have done one question one time, then just leave it. You have done that question. No. If you have done one question one time, then again when you are revising your syllabus, you have to do the same question again and again, because it is again my experience that same thing can give you different insights if you approach it different times. Okay, so if you are attempting, or if you are watching some question 10 times, then you will get 10 different types of approaches, then you will get 10 different types of insights from that one question only. Okay, that is one observation that I have taken during my course of learning journey. Okay. Okay, sir, but I only have NCERT. If you have NCERT and if you want only to cover NCERT, then stick to that only. Just purchase one reference book from which you can solve questions, because NCERT don't have MCQ type of question in it. So just buy some other MCQ type of book specific to IAT and NEST, Other than that, you can stick to NCERT also if you want. Okay? ठीक है? Sir, does the subject you leave out or have low marks in the NEST affect the course that I can choose? No. It will not affect the course that you will be choosing. That is a separate game. ठीक है? This is just an exam. ठीक है? And this journey of clearing an exam will end up just after you have attempted the next exam. Okay? These courses will not have any kind of relevance with what you will be choosing in NISER. Okay? And one thing more that I want to tell you with respect to next exam is that the three subjects in which whose scores are being taken, है ना, for whose cumulative scores are being taken in order to prepare your scorecard, you should be qualifying in all these three subjects in which you have scored highest. Okay, so there is a qualifying marks also in the next exam. Okay, like, and it never goes up about 10. So qualifying marks for each subject, it remains between 5 to 10. Okay, so if you have got in between 5 to 10 numbers, you will be able to qualify that subject. Okay, you can get more insight if you check the site, next exam site. Okay, so every subject has one cutoff, minimum cutoff scores, and if you have got more than that, then that score will be taken in your scorecard, and if you haven't cleared that cutoff score or minimum score, then that score will not be taken. Clear? So you must be qualifying the minimum score of each subject of 3 subjects at least. Clear? I am a PCM student. Do you provide special assessment in biology? Okay. So let me clear you one thing, that we will be covering all the things from basics. Okay. So I'll start, or I'll pick the chapter from the very basic, and then gradually we'll move up, and then we'll move that level also, which normal teachers don't touch. Okay, so we'll be starting at a very ground zero level, and we'll be going up to a very high level. Okay, not in every topic, but in those topics which are in which these exams, they tend to ask some deep kind of understanding, deep kind of concepts. Okay, clear? Okay. So let's start the chapter now, and the first chapter that we are going to start is biomolecule. Okay. Now before starting this chapter, let me ask you one thing, that why we are starting with biomolecule. In NCERT, the first chapter is what? The first chapter is the living world. But then why we are starting with this chapter, which is known as biomolecule? Tell me in the chat box. High scoring? Yes. Kumar Amritanshu, very good. You are exactly pinpointing what I have thought also. Smallest form of non-living which makes up a cell. Okay. So yes, there are two reasons behind it. First of all, it is very important chapter with respect to any exam that we are preparing. Very important chapter for NEST and IAT. Okay, first reason is this only. Second is that without knowing this chapter, you can't do much, or you will not be able to understand some of the very important topics of biology. Okay, so this chapter is one of the very important prerequisite that is needed before starting any other chapter. Okay, so it's a prerequisite. Okay, and the third reason, which is the most important reason, is that is that is that biology is a field of study of life and life forms, but life has came from these biomolecules. Okay, so life have came from these small biomolecules. Okay, so living beings, there are some creatures which shows metabolism, which shows consciousness, है ना, which have a cellular organization, but those living things have came from non-living thing, and those non-living entities from which living creatures have arose are these small biomolecules. ठीक है, so they are building blocks of smallest, or they are building blocks of living creatures. Okay, living creatures. ठीक, that's why we are going to start this chapter. Okay, so let's start. Now, first of all, the question for you is that what are biomolecules? What are biomolecules? What are biomolecules? So biomolecules, as the name suggests, are biological molecules, or the molecules which are found in biological systems. Like you must have be knowing about some of the very important biomolecules like proteins, lipids, fats, oils, nucleic acids, and all these things are what? All these things are biomolecules. Yes or no? Okay. But now, when I was saying that biomolecules are building blocks of living creatures, what made me to say this thing? What made me to say this thing? Because it all started 20 billion years ago approximately. ठीक है? So 20 billion years ago, we know that there was a single huge explosion that took place, and it gave rise to what? It gave rise to a whole universe. ठीक है? And that was said to be Big Bang. है ना? So Big Bang led to what? Big Bang led to the formation of universe. Okay, but formation of universe and formation of life are two different things, है ना? So universe is not something which can be related to life. Okay, life has came when earth became habitable, and earth became habitable around 4 billion year ago. Okay, around 4 billion year ago. Earth developed around 4.5 billion year ago, but it was not habitable at that time. The environment at that time was very harsh. ठीक है? The temperature was very high, and also there was no oxygen at all at that initial time when earth was formed. ठीक है? And after 5 million year ago, that is 4 billion year ago, earth became habitable. ठीक है, clear this thing. And when earth became habitable, life came, okay, but it was a question that was been asked since a long time by different thinkers and researchers, that let's say life is coming from life, like I have came from my father, he has came from his father, and they have came from their great grandfathers, है ना? But what is that thing which actually led to the formation of first life, है ना? What is that thing, what was that thing that gave rise to first life? This is one question. Can anyone tell me? First life. Can anyone tell me? First life came from which entity, or was there anything who created life, or is it God who created life? Tell me. Tell me in the chat box. Is it something special known as God who created life, or is it something else, or there can be another theory? Yes, Anashwara, very correct. Reaction between N2 and H2O and something, biomolecules, inorganic matter, complex molecule coming together. Yes, correct. So the first life, it came from non-living thing or non-living entities. Okay, it came from non-living entity, and this theory, which suggests that first life came from non-living entity, it is known as theory of abiogenesis. Theory of abiogenesis. ठीक है, it is known as theory of abiogenesis. ठीक है. So you must have heard about the names of scientists like Louis Pasteur, Reddy, Spallanzani, who were not in favor of this theory. They said that life can come only from living creature. ठीक है. They were in support of the fact that life can only come from living creatures. But when they were asked that okay, that life is coming from living creatures, but then what about the first life? They were not able to answer that question. But this theory was able to answer the question of the commencement of first life. Okay, and this theory is known as abiogenesis, and in this theory of abiogenesis there is a special theory known as theory of chemical evolution, which explains quite precisely the arousal of first life. By the way, this theory was given by two scientists, ठीक है, Oparin and Haldane, ठीक है, Oparin and Haldane, and Oparin in his book explained this theory. And what was his book? His book was named as Origin of Life. Origin of Life. Origin of Life. This was a book written by Oparin, and in this book he explained the theory of chemical evolution, in which he told that what were the different circumstances on early earth and what led to the formation of the life from non-living creatures. Now, having said that, let me ask you one question here. ठीक है, Origin of Life was written by Oparin, but then Origin of Species was written by which scientist? Origin of Species was written by which scientist? Can any student tell me? Origin of Species was written by which scientist? Origin of Life I have told you. Okay. Yes, Nivedita, very good. Anashwara, Animik, Shivangi, all of you are aware of this fact. Okay, very good. So, Origin of Species was written by Charles Darwin. So don't confuse this thing that origin of species and origin of life is not the same thing. Origin of species was written by Charles Darwin. So this is one thing that I'll be focusing in this batch, that I'll be asking more and more questions to you this time. Okay, so that we can all interact with each other and there will be a mutual participation in the class. Okay, so that will be one thing that I will be taking care of. Tick. Now, so theory of chemical evolution proposed by Oparin and Haldane led to the conclusion that first life came from non-living entity, abiogenesis. Clear? Now, what were the things that they put into account to explain this theory? Let me tell you that they said that early Earth was not habitable and the environment was quite harsh. Okay? There were high temperatures, thousands of degrees Celsius, and there were constant electric sparks that were being produced. है ना? But even if life or complex biomolecules were not present, we can say that simple type of inorganic molecules were still present there. Do you agree with me or not? Simple types of inorganic molecules were present on early Earth. Tell me in the chat box, do you agree with me on this point? Tell me. Yes? Yes, correct. So there were inorganic molecules, simple type of inorganic molecules which were present on early Earth, like CH4, NH3, H2, okay, and other things also, okay, H2S, like these. Chemical or inorganic chemicals like these were present on early Earth. Tick. And once the temperature of Earth came down slowly due to repeated cycles of evaporation and precipitation, which means raining and evaporation of the water vapor, है ना? So gradually, if I am saying gradually, it means it is very gradual. It is not about that, it is not like a period of 30 days, 40 days or 1 year. It is a period of thousands, lakhs of years or millions of years also. Okay? So it's a very gradual process. So gradually the temperature of Earth came down and these molecules, they started to react with each other and form simple organic molecules. Simple organic molecules. Okay. And what were these molecules? They were molecules like glucose, C6H12O6, and amino acids. Okay. So this is glucose. Amino acids, है ना? Fats. Let me write it as a some kind of thing. Okay, let's write fats only. Fats or nucleotides. Such kind of molecules started to form as the temperature of Earth gradually came down. Sir, aren't some of the organic molecules like methane? Yes, they are simple. Means we can say that it's a simplest type of organic molecules. But yes, more or less they are inorganic, like this and this one. They are more or less inorganic molecule. Okay. Yes. Now, as the temperature came down again and again, है ना? Gradually it came to a very low temperature. not that low also, that 0 degree Celsius, like present day time, the temperature as it approached present day times, ठीक है, 40-50 degree Celsius, these molecules, they reacted to form polymers of biomolecules, ठीक है, and those polymers are known as complex biomolecules. Like what? Like polysaccharides or sugars, complex sugar, let's say, complex sugars, okay, DNA, that is deoxyribonucleic acid, RNA, lipids, proteins, such kind of molecules were formed on early Earth, ठीक है, but still these are also not living molecules, they are just a biomolecule, है ना, they are in present day time we know that they are present in living system. Protein, living system is comprised of protein, carbohydrate, fats, DNA, RNA, but at that time there was no cell, there was no entity that can be called as cell which were formed, okay, but these complex biomolecules were formed at that time, ठीक है, and these complex biomolecules, they came together somehow, they formed a close boundary like this, and they formed what? They formed first entity that can be considered or that looked like a living entity, but still it was not living, ठीक है, clear? So this entity which was formed by a congregation of these all biomolecules, it was looks living, but is actually not living, but actually non-living. It was actually non-living. And why was it actually non-living? Because though it has a specific area of what it is covering, and it is looking like a living cell, but it lacked some of the very basic requirements for any entity to be called as living, okay. So here a question arises that what are the most basic requirements for any cell to be called as living? Tell me in the chat box, what are the most basic requirements that an entity should possess to be called as living? Tell me in the chat box. Tell me in the chat box. Consciousness, yes. Metabolism, growth, to be able to replicate. Breathing is not a very necessary thing. Okay, so there is one point that I must address here. If you are not able to make notes and understand the topic simultaneously, then please don't make notes in the class. These notes will be available to you after the class, okay. So if you are able to make notes, then it is very good, but if you are making notes and for the sake of making notes you are not able to understand the topic, then please just focus on what we are teaching here. Notes will be provided to you, okay. So the most important things that an entity should possess in order to be called as living is, first of all, metabolism. It should show metabolism, ठीक है. I'll tell you what metabolism is when we'll talk about it in other chapters, but till then please be with me. So basically metabolism, it means all set of chemical reactions that are present in our body, all the coordinated type of chemical reactions that are found in our body, like Like if I say that you just take an example that you eat food and you get energy out of it. How does it happen? It happens because that food is being broken down by a set of chemical reactions which occurs in a coordinated manner to produce energy, and that energy is used by you as a to do some kind of mechanical work, है ना? So all those reactions which are done in our body to produce some energy or to do something is known as metabolism. Okay, it is known as metabolism. It is, just take an example here, that like if you purchase a bike, okay, and you put a petrol on it, okay, and just you ignite it, what will happen? That bike, its engine will start to burn the fuel or the petrol to produce heat, which is a form of energy, and that heat energy will be used to run a bike. That is a mechanical work, है ना? So likewise our body is also a machine which needs certain kind of chemical reaction to happen in it in order to do different types of work that are required to be done in your life, like studying, है ना, chatting with someone, and है ना, and doing all sort of stuffs. Next, another thing that is required for an entity to be called as living is consciousness. What? Consciousness. What do you mean by consciousness? Consciousness, you should not confuse this consciousness with what is being taught to you on YouTube, है ना? This is a purely biological term, consciousness, and that consciousness what you are being taught in on YouTube is a different thing. Consciousness is something which is related to awareness of the environment. If any entity is aware about its environment, then you can call it as living. Like if I touch any person, he or she will sense that something is touching him or her. Yes or no? That is consciousness. ठीक है? Like a very simple creature, bacteria, you can consider. If you put some chemical on a bacterial culture plate, that bacteria will either survive or it will die, or it will start to go away to evade what can be different consequences of that chemical, है ना? That thing is known as consciousness. It is only about awareness of what is being happening in the environment. Clear? Next, a living entity should have a cellular organization. Should have a cellular organization. What do you mean by cellular organization? So tell me, have you seen any person who don't have a cellular organization or who don't have a boundary? Tell me. Have you seen any living creature who don't have a boundary or a cellular organization? Tell me. Quickly, please. Yes, on YouTube also. YouTube students, tell me, have you seen any person who is living but who don't have a boundary? Amoeba don't have a boundary. Amoeba have a flexible boundary in it. Viruses also have boundaries. Like if I tell you, if I give you a very simple example, if you, let's say you studied hard, you got selected in IAT, and then you became a scientist, and now you have lots of money and you purchased a plot, okay, to make your own home. This is a plot. Can this plot be considered as a house? No. In order to make, or in order to say it a house, we have to make a boundary on its end, है ना? And on that boundary we will be making a home. ठीक है? So anything which can be called as living, the first and foremost thing that it should possess or that it should have is a boundary. ठीक है? If it do not have a boundary, then then you can't say properly that which thing is living or what is non living. If something is not a boundary, let's say I'm saying that here we have a bacteria. So you will be able to locate that this is a bacteria. How? Because this bacteria has a boundary. है ना? It has a boundary. That's why you can say that here this is a bacteria, not this. Yes or no? So that's why a living creature should have a cellular organization. Clear? And one more very important thing which should be present in a living organism, but all living organisms do not possess that thing. But yes, this is also one of the most essential feature that a living creature should possess, and that is known as reproduction. That is known as reproduction. A living creature should be able to reproduce and lay its progeny. ठीक है? It can be a simple kind of living entity or a complex type of living entity, but still it should possess the power of replicating itself. If it is not able to replicate itself, then the very basic philosophy of nature it goes in vain. ठीक है? Clear? Clear? So this living, this entity which was looking as if it is living, but it was actually non-living, it lacked the property of reproduction, and that's why this entity was not called as living. It was said to be a protobiont. What? It was said as a protobiont. Proto means primitive, biont means living. It's a primitive living creature, and actually it's not at all a living creature because it lacked the property of reproduction and metabolism also. Clear? It had a separate boundary. We can say that it has a cellular organization, but it lacked this, and that thing, especially reproduction. ठीक है? Clear? And there are two types of protobionts whose name I will not mention here in this class because many of the students who are from maths background, they will get stressed, है ना? Because this topic is not actually from biomolecules. Okay, I am just telling you all these things because I want you to get an understanding that why we are going to study biomolecules, and what is the need to study biomolecules. And now I guess you must have get to an idea that why we are studying this chapter. Can you write in the chat box why we are studying this chapter? Have you got an idea why we are going to study this chapter, biomolecules? Tell me. Tell me in the chat box. Yes. Yes, to know about the origin. Yes, correct. To know about the origin. We know that the base of all the living organism is the non-living entity, and these non-living entities are what? These are simple type of molecules. That's why we need to study biomolecules. And someone, I don't know who he was, he have very rightly said that all the living creatures, all the life has came from the dust of stars. Why dust of stars? Because ultimately everything in the very beginning was what? It was just a dust, है ना, which was created by a big bang, after a big bang, है ना. So all the living creatures have arose from dust of stars, and all the living creature also have that fate only. We have originated from the dust and we will become dust after we die. Okay. Okay. So this is the harsh truth of life, that we come from dust, we have came from dust and we will become dust after we die. Just there is a short time span in which we can say, or the dust aggregates and it starts to behave as if it is living, and after that, after some time, after 70-80 years, it again vanishes and becomes dust. Okay. Clear? Clear? And this is also a fact that nature is a very cruel thing. ठीक है, nature is a very cruel thing. It do not need anyone. ठीक है, it just need to propagate. Nature wants to propagate, and that's why it has created living entities. And once its task is done, we can say that we are left to die. ठीक है, this is one harsh truth of life and nature also. Clear? Like if you can try to think that what is the significance of human life. We are born, है ना, we grow up, we reproduce, raise our progeny, and then what? And then no one cares, we are left to die. That is the harsh reality of biology. ठीक है, if you are clearly able to understand the philosophy of biology, then you will be left with no joy but a sorrow. ठीक है, clear? Okay, let's move ahead. So from these protobionts, somehow these protobionts, they started to replicate, they started to coordinate their chemical reactions, and that came out as a metabolic reactions. And then what happened? And then somehow life came, and it is still a topic of interest of most of the scientists, that how actually from these protobionts life suddenly came. ठीक है, so from these protobionts arose first living cell somehow. ठीक है, somehow all the thing came into place, somehow metabolic reactions started to happen, somehow they started to replicate. But yes, no one is 100% sure that what is the clear reason of this somehow. ठीक है, and that is where we end up doing research, because we are only interested in solving questions, है ना. So this is also a question till now. ठीक है, many of the scientists have tried to figure out how it happened, but no one had 100%. No one had done it in a 100% foolproof manner. Okay, clear? Now the same thing, when Oparin and Haldane, two scientists, both of them, when they explained the origin of life like this, they were also asked the same thing, that how can you explain? You have given a theory of the origin of life, but how can you experimentally validate that thing? So research is all about validation. So you put a theory, you put a hypothesis, okay? So you just put a hypothesis, what you think, okay? Then you have to do an experiment in order to validate that hypothesis. ठीक है, and it can lead to positive outcome, it can lead to negative outcome also. So Oparin and Haldane, they have put this theory, ठीक है, but when they were asked that how can you validate this theory, they were not able to answer it. But there was one American scientist who was able to answer this question, and his name was S.L. Miller. His name was S.L. Miller. His name was S.L. Miller. ठीक है. S.L. Miller in 1950s he did an experiment which is known as spark discharge experiment. Okay, spark discharge experiment, and in this experiment he tried to create an environment which mimics the environment of early earth. ठीक है, like this. He created a chamber in which he put some kind of gases like CH4, NH3, H2 and what? Methane, ammonia, hydrogen gas, or we can say H2S, something like this. ठीक है, clear? Not the same type of molecule, not all the same type of molecule, but yes, he put these kind of simple molecules in this chamber. He gave a very high temperature to this chamber, 800 degrees Celsius, and he also gave what? Very high voltage electric discharge, 75,000 volt of discharge, of electric discharge in this chamber, and he let this thing to happen. ठीक है, ठीक है, and he let these things to happen. Clear? H2O, okay, you can put H2O here also. Okay, and he let all these things to happen, and he was surprised to see that after some days in the lower part of this chamber started to accumulate some kind of sugars, nucleotides, lipids, amino acids. Okay, and he was surprised to see these things because occurrence of these molecules, it actually validated the theory given by Oparin and Haldane. Like they said that from very simple inorganic biomolecule comes simple type of organic molecules which can be said to be a biomolecule, and that's what he have got here. Okay, so that's how the theory given by Oparin and Haldane, that was theory of chemical evolution, was validated by S.L. Miller. Clear? Up to this point, up till this point, all of you are clear or not? Tell me. Tell me in the chat box. Clear? Viruses in their inactive form have boundary? Yes, they have boundary, of course, but their boundary, they can be said to be a nucleoprotein. They are just a chemical. Okay? They are some form of evolved type of chemicals. Yes, we can say that they have a boundary also. Okay, okay then. Okay, so that is what I wanted to tell you in this class. Okay, and I have given you an idea of why to study biomolecules, but formally we will start this chapter from next class or tomorrow. Okay? Sir, this experiment was not entirely successful. We can say this thing that it was not able to clearly make a living entity, but that thing hasn't been done till now. Okay? Clear? Chalo phir. Okay then. So this is it for today. We'll meet tomorrow and we'll start the chapter of biomolecules formally in the next class. Okay? Okay then. Bye bye.